So just because they're strongly related does not mean that one causes the other. Okay, so there could be another reason for this relationship to exist. Another thing that we could look at is that there is a relationship between the consumption of hot chocolate and it's negatively correlated with crime rate. So why do you think that that would even be? Why would consumption of hot chocolate be negatively correlated with crime? And does that mean that we should all drink more hot chocolate just to lower the crime rate? Okay, obviously not. Drinking hot chocolate, unfortunately, would not lower the crime rate. But the reason why they are related is because both responses relate to cold weather, right? You drink more hot chocolate when it's super cold. And also when it's super cold, the crime rate does go down just because people don't get out and about and commit crimes when it's super cold. So just because we said, oh, consumption of hot chocolate is negatively correlated with crime does not mean drink more hot chocolate to cause the crime rate to go down, okay? So anybody that's taken AP Psych, you've heard this before because this is a super important concept I need you guys to know, that causality can only be shown by carefully controlling values of all variables that might be related to the ones under study. In other words, a well-controlled, well-designed experiment. Remember, we talked about that at the end of first semester, and we even talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this semester, that the only way to show cause and effect is a well-controlled, well-designed experiment. So one thing we need you guys to know for sure, especially this is a good leaving note, okay? Anytime you read a study in anything in your future, please know that if they say that something's correlated, that does not imply causation. Okay, so just in case this font size and the green didn't do for you, let's do it in red and a little bit bigger. Correlation does not imply causation. And just in case that didn't do it for you, let's change it to blue and super big. Correlation does not imply causation. Okay, so make sure you guys know that. If we show a strong correlation coefficient, like let's say the correlation coefficient is 1 or -1, that means they're perfectly correlated. All the lines or all the points are on the line. That still does not mean that one causes the other. So just keep that in mind when you are leaving this class, that correlation does not imply causation. Okay, so that is the rest of today's lesson. It is kind of a longer lesson, just so you know. You could kind of tell that. But let's go ahead and take a look at your homework. So you do have homework for tonight. So on page 7 and 8 is going to be your homework. So page 7 and 8. Number 1, when you are working through, well, there's 4 problems, so number 1 through 4. Okay, on number 1, you have parts A, B, C, and D. You're going to match it to a scatter plot here. Just tell me which plot number it matches. So that's just a number. The interpretation must be sentences. So must be sentences. So we are going to count that just as 4 problems, but if you don't have a sentence for the interpretation, you lose the whole point for that letter, okay? Even if you match it correctly, you have to give me a sentence to interpret that correlation coefficient. Remember, to interpret the correlation coefficient, you have to tell me whether there's a strong, weak, or moderate, positive or negative, linear relationship. And since they give you no context, you could just say between X and Y. Number 2, you're going to sketch your scatter plot. That's just a quick sketch. And then you're going to compute and interpret the value of the correlation coefficient in the context of the problem. So yes, you need to show me what R equals, but then you have to write a sentence for the second half. So write a sentence for 2B. Number 3 on page 8 is just matching. So they're just talking about if you took out a point, what would the new correlation coefficient be? Or sorry, if you added this point. So if you added this point, what would the new correlation coefficient be? So that's just quick matching. So just match all of those. And then number 4, talk about what a conclusion you can make from this problem. So this will also be a sentence. So just to recap for your homework, you're doing 1 through 4 on page 7 through 8, number 1, A through D, number 2, B, and number 4, must have sentences. Make sure you are practicing that, okay? So we are going to count this as 8 problems just because of all of the parts. So 8 problems. All right, also keep in mind that Desmos can do a regression for you. I will make sure to send out a reminder of a calculator that you can use in order to do a linear regression in case you have run out of time, because this was a longer lesson today. So on to A and to B to get that correlation coefficient. We'll give you a site to do that in case you don't have a graphing calculator at home. All right, well, I hope all is well, and that is your first lesson for bivariate data and linear regression, and I'll see you tomorrow for our second to last lesson of the semester. Bye.